Hi everyone, it is Izzy Shows again. Welcome to my bedroom. We're recording in here today, so that's a fun little switch up. I thought I would take the opportunity to share with you the 12 books that I would like to read by the end of 2024. 2 of them are rereads, 2 of them are in a series, and 2 of them are nonfiction books. Well, without further ado, why don't we just hop right into it? The first book on my to-be-read list is Troy by Adele Garris. Not actually sure how that's pronounced. I actually got this book back in high school, and I've read it a couple of times. It's a great book. I love historical fiction. It used to be like all that I read was either fantasy or historical fiction. This is a really cool book told from the perspective of 2 sisters who live in Troy. They're kind of servants, and it just follows their lives leading up to the battle with Achilles and what happens to them. So I'll just read the blurb so that y'all can see what it's about. Maybe you'll be interested in reading it too. The grimmest of wars is about to get worse. The siege of Troy has lasted almost 10 years. Inside the walled city, food is scarce and death is common. From the heights of Mount Olympus, the gods keep watch. But Aphrodite, goddess of love, is bored with the endless dreary war, and so she turns her attention to 2 sisters, Marpessa, who serves as handmaiden to Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, and Xanthe, who tends the wounded soldiers in the blood room. When Eros fits an arrow to his silver-lit bow and lets it fly, neither sister will escape its power. Yeah, it's really good. I can't wait to reread it. The other book that I'll be rereading this year is a pretty popular one. I don't know if you've heard about it or read it. It's Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Obviously, I read this in high school for one of my English classes, and I just adored it. I thought it was so well written. I thought the characters were so rich. It really left a mark on me in regards to how I wanted to create characters and how I wanted to build tension in a story. And I think, as I'm getting back into writing, I think it's a good book to reread at this point and see if it kind of sparks something in me. So, the back of the book. I am no bird and no net ensnares me. I am a free human being with an independent will. Bronte's infamous Gothic novel tells the story of orphan Jane, a child of unfortunate circumstances. Raised and treated badly by her aunt and cousins, and eventually sent away to a cruel boarding school, it is not until Jane becomes a governess at Thornfield that she finds happiness. Meek, measured, but determined, Jane soon falls in love with her brooding and stormy master, Mr. Rochester. But it is not long before strange and unnerving events occur in the house, and Jane is forced to leave Thornfield to pursue her future. Chills. Oh, it's such a good book, and I love this cover. I think it's so beautiful. This is a Collins Classics, as it says right on the cover. But yeah, no, it's really good. It's one of my favorite books of all time, right up there with Wuthering Heights, which might go on my list for next year. The next book on my to-be-read list is a book that was given to me as a Christmas present by my little sister. She knows how much I love reading. Like, I've been obsessed with it my entire life. I've always had my nose in a book. And she got me this super cozy blanket and this book, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle. Oh, I can't read the last name. There's a Target sticker on it. By Gabrielle Zevin. So I do not know anything about this book. I haven't looked up any reviews or anything at all. I'm just going to read it because my little sister thought it would be a good fit for me. Let's take a look at the blurb. On a bitter cold day in the December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Masser exits a subway car and sees, amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform, Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment, she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns, and a game begins. A legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich, but these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, and the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yes, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before. All right, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty interesting to me. I love a good love story, like Guilty. I love romances, and this sounds like it's not just a love story, like the focus isn't entirely on their relationship, it seems, but also on their creative endeavors and what their ambitions and what they're trying to do. And I'm really curious to see how this pans out. It's a New York Times bestseller, so it goes on the list. The next two books on my list are a series. They're the Dragon Age books. I love Dragon Age. I played Dragon Age Origins in high school. We're seeing a theme here. But I played Dragon Age Origins in high school over Christmas break, and I was obsessed. I mean, like, I do not remember eating, I do not remember sleeping, I just remember playing this game all day and all night. I had to finish it before school started because it was consuming my soul. Dragon Age is actually the video game that made me want to one day look into game development, which is really awesome. Like, I didn't really know about RPGs, not like that. Like, obviously Pokemon is an RPG, and I've played plenty of Pokemon, but I mean, Pokemon's story isn't on the same level. Like, Dragon Age Origins was just a game changer. It was amazing. And I have never actually read the novels, even though they have been on my shelf for a very long time, just collecting dust, and I feel very ashamed of that. So let's take a quick look at these. The first, or I don't actually know which one is first. I don't know if it matters. I think they're just a collection, not like a chronological series. So, okay, this is the thrilling prequel, and this is another thrilling prequel. So, now we know. This is The Stolen Throne by David Gator, who was the lead writer of Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age, The Stolen Throne. After his mother, the beloved rebel queen, is betrayed and murdered by her own faithless lords, young Merrick becomes the leader of a rebel army attempting to free his nation from the control of a foreign tyrant. Merrick's countrymen live in fear. His commanders consider him untested, and his only allies are Loghain, a brash young outlaw who saved his life, and Rowan, the beautiful warrior maiden promised to him since birth. Surrounded by spies and traitors, Merrick must find a way to not only survive, but achieve his ultimate destiny: Freldum's freedom and the return of his line to the stolen throne. Oh, that sounds so cool. And I mean, look at this cover art. Look at that. Ah, that's gorgeous. I love it. I'm so excited to read this. And then the other one is The Calling also by David Gator. After 200 years of exile, King Merrick has allowed the legendary Grey Wardens to return to Ferelden. When they come, they bring dire news. One of their own has escaped into the Deep Roads and aligned himself with their ancient enemy, the monstrous Darkspawn. The Grey Wardens desperately need Merrick's help, and he reluctantly agrees. He leads them into the passages he traveled through many years before, chasing after a deadly secret that will threaten to destroy not only the Grey Wardens, but also the kingdom above. So I didn't realize, I knew the Stolen Throne was about King Merrick, who is, he's in Origins, but he's not a main character. I'm trying not to spoil the game, even though it's been out for, oh god, now I feel old. It's been out for a long time. But I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's a great game. You should definitely go play it. I did not realize that both of these are, either about King Merrick or from his perspective. It's really interesting. I am excited to read these. I cannot wait to see how good they are. David Gator did a great job writing the video games, so I'm sure his books are going to be amazing. The next two books on my list are nonfiction books. One of them is Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. This is another book that has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while and I have not touched. My mom got this for me when I first started university at NC State, and I've never really enjoyed reading nonfiction. I'm going to be completely honest. It does not spark joy for me. But everyone swears by this book when it comes to, improving your craft. And so I think it is about time that I finally crack this bad boy open and see what it's all about. There is obviously no blurb, just a bunch of reviews, so I think we're going to skip reading that. The other nonfiction book on my list is The Elements of Style, 4th edition, by William Struck Jr. and E.B. White. Now, this is another book that I've seen a lot of authors swear by when it comes to line editing. I have never actually done much editing of my own books. I always, I write my first draft and then I immediately send it off to the editor. I really need to work on my editing skills because it is my goal to one day submit a book for traditional publishing, and you kind of need to be able to make multiple passes over your book before you send it off to an agent. So I think this book will do me really well when it comes to improving my line editing and, just overall smoothing out my style. I can't say I'm too excited to read it, but I am looking forward to the skills that it'll give me. The next book on my list is Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I actually bought this book in Belgium. I had to double check that I bought it in English because I bought 2 books in Belgium. One of them was in Dutch, and this one is in English. I actually also have The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit in Dutch. I read The Hobbit in Dutch, but I did not read The Lord of the Rings. I actually have not read The Lord of the Rings in English. I've watched the movies a million times over, but I haven't read the actual series yet. That is on my to-do list, but I don't currently have them, so that's a project for another day. Beautiful Creatures. I don't actually know a whole lot about this. I think I was seeing trailers for it at the time, and it sounded really interesting, but it's been like about 11 years since I was in Belgium, and I just cannot remember what it's about at all. But it felt like it was about time to sit down and finally read it. So let's take a look at the back together. Lena Duchanis is unlike anyone the small southern town of Gatlin has ever seen, and she's struggling to conceal her power and a curse that has haunted her family for generations. But even within the overgrown gardens, murky swamps, and crumbling graveyards of the forgotten South, a secret cannot stay hidden forever. Ethan Waite, who has been counting the months until he can escape from Gatlin, is haunted by dreams of a beautiful girl he has never met. When Lena moves into the town's oldest and most infamous plantation, Ethan is inexplicably drawn to her and determined to uncover the connection between them. In a town with no surprises, one secret could change everything. Oh my god, that sounds so good! That sounds really good. I'm excited to read this. Ooh, give me I love. So I'm from North Carolina. I obviously really enjoy when things are actually set in the South. I feel like so many things are set in like New York City, and I feel like the South doesn't get a lot of love when it comes to being a setting. So I don't know what state Gatlin is in. I don't know if that's a fictional town that they made up or if that's real. But murky swamps, overgrown gardens, crumbling graveyards. Oh, that is all right up my alley. I am definitely going to devour this book, assuming that the writing is fluid. Like if it's anything like the blurb, though, this is gonna be so good. All right, we're getting towards the end here. The next book is called Malice by John Gwynne. This is another book that I know basically nothing about. I bought it at Barnes & Noble several years ago because I liked the cover. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but I totally bought this book because I liked the cover. Oh, how embarrassing is that? I don't know, it looked good, but obviously, like, cover design has nothing to do with writing. Like, the skills of the artist have nothing to do with the skills of the author, so it is anyone's guess how well this is gonna go. Let's take a look at the blurb. The world is broken. Corbin wants nothing more than to be a warrior under King Brennan's rule, to protect and serve. But that day will come all too soon, and the price he pays will be in blood. Evnus has sacrificed, too much it seems. But what he wants, the power to rule, will soon be in his grasp, and nothing will stop him once he has started on his path. Veratus is the newest member of the warband for the High Prince, Nethair. He is one of the most skilled swordsmen to come out of his homeland, yet he is always under the shadow of his older brother. Nethair has ideas, and a lot of plans. Many of them don't involve his father, the High King Aquilius. Nor does he agree with his father's idea to summon his fellow kings to council. The Banished Lands has a violent past where armies of men and giants clashed in battle, but now giants stir anew, stones weep blood, and there are sightings of giant worms. Those who can still read the signs of a threat far greater than the ancient world wars. For if the Black Sun gains ascendancy, mankind's hopes and dreams will fall to dust, and it can never be made whole again. Alright, so it looks like it's going to be a book told across 4 perspectives. I don't always do so well with multi-point of view books. Like, obviously, I read A Song of Ice and Fire, and I loved it at the time, but I've tried to reread it, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't know what it is. I can't get back into those books. I have this problem where I get a favorite point of view character, and I really look forward to reading their chapters, and then I get really annoyed and bored during the other characters' chapters. I would much prefer to have one point of view where I just fall in love with the point of view character and get to enjoy the entire story from their perspective. That doesn't mean I won't like this though. It is a fantasy. It's got some dragons, it looks like, and a girl loves dragons. So we'll see how this goes. I do not have very high expectations, I'm going to be completely honest, but it is about time I made good on my impulse purchase and actually read it. The next book on my to be read list is Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I also bought this on impulse, not just based on the cover, but because I had heard a lot about Cassandra Clare as a writer, and I thought that her style would jive with me pretty well. I don't know a whole lot about this. Well, I also haven't read The Mortal Instruments, which I know is like a total reading sin. Like, everybody's read The Mortal Instruments. Why haven't I read The Mortal Instruments? I don't know. It just never really came up. But if I like this, then I definitely will go back and read The Mortal Instruments. Let's take a look at the inside flap. In a kingdom by the sea, in a secret world where half-angel warriors are sworn to fight demons, Parabatai is a sacred word. A Parabatai is your partner in battle. A Parabatai is your best friend. Parabatai can be everything to each other, but they can never fall in love. Ooh, spicy! Emma Carstairs is a warrior, a shadow hunter, and the best in her generation. She lives for battle. Shoulder to shoulder with her Parabatai, Julian Blackthorne, she patrols the streets of Los Angeles, where vampires party on the Sunset Strip, and fairies, the most powerful of supernatural creatures, teeter on the edge of open war with shadow hunters. When the bodies of humans and fairies turn up murdered in the same way Emma's parents were when she was a child, an uneasy alliance is formed. This is Emma's chance for revenge, and Julian's chance to get back his brother Mark, who is being held prisoner by the fairy courts. All Emma, Mark, and Julian have to do is solve the murders within 2 weeks, and before the murderer targets them. Their search takes Emma from sea caves full of sorcery to a dark lottery where death is dispensed, and each clue she unravels uncovers more secrets. What has Julian been hiding from her all these years? Why does Shadowhunter law forbid Parabatai to fall in love? Who really killed her parents? And can she bear to know the truth? The darkly magical world of Shadowhunters has captured the imaginations of millions of readers across the globe. Join the adventure in Lady Midnight, the long-awaited first volume of a new trilogy from Cassandra Clare. Alright, that sounded amazing. I love urban fantasy. Obviously, I write urban fantasy. It is my all-time favorite genre, and this is really interesting because it's an urban fantasy where there is no masquerade. There is no, hiding the supernatural from the everyday, mundane people, it sounds like. The vampires are just out in force. It's really interesting to me. I'm really eager to see how that works and what that looks like. And this whole forbidden romance thing, come on, they're totally gonna fall in love. We all know that, right? We'll see. I have no idea any spoilers about this. I haven't looked up any reviews. So these are all just my guesses, but I think this is gonna be good. I'm excited to read this one. Alright, the last book on my to-be-read list is actually kind of an embarrassing one. I feel like I really should have read this book a lot sooner, and I was not sure if I was even going to include it in this video because, egg on my face, why haven't I read this? American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Now, this is my fiance's copy, and oh my god, the artwork is just amazing. Oh, look at that. That is so beautiful. Would you believe that all the gods that people have ever imagined are still with us today? Neil Gaiman is such an amazing person and author, and I'm so excited to read this book. I'm so grateful that Jop has lent me their copy so that I can finally get into it. It looks like there might be a little bit of illustration in this. I'm a little nervous to read it because it's such a beautiful edition, and like the pages, like the spine is completely intact, and I kind of don't want to break it. So I might not read this specific edition. I might like get the ebook or something to read it. I don't know. We'll see. I know that books are meant to be read, but some books are just so beautiful, you know? And like, it's not mine to decide if I should break the spine. And I'm sure if I asked them, they would say it's okay. But like, is it really? I don't know. I'm definitely going to read the book though. Like, I'm totally reading American Gods. I think it's going to be great. Let's take a look at the blurb for those of you who are unfamiliar with the book. Shadow Moon has served his time, but hours before his release from prison, his beloved wife is killed in a freak accident. Dazed, he boards a plane home where he meets the enigmatic Mr. Wednesday, who professes both to know Shadow and to be king of America. Together they embark on a profoundly strange road trip across the USA, encountering a kaleidoscope cast of characters along the way. Yet all around them a storm threatens to break. The war has already begun, an epic struggle for the very soul of America, and Shadow is standing squarely in its path. Shadow, like I saw a little bit of the American Gods TV show. I actually didn't finish watching it, not because I didn't like it or anything, but because I didn't want to spoil the book and I really wanted to read the book. Really should have gotten on that. But yeah, no, Shadow seems like a really cool character. I already know a little bit about the beginning, obviously, since I saw like 1 or 2 episodes of American Gods. I'm not gonna spoil anything that I know, but Mr. Wednesday is a cool name. Just gonna say that for those who know. If you know, you know. But yeah, so American Gods, I'm so excited to read a book by Neil Gaiman. He is like my all-time, like if I could meet Neil Gaiman, that would be amazing. That would be like a top moment in my life. Alright, so those are all the books on my to-be-read list. I really thought there were 12, but I just counted and it looks like there are only 11. I don't know if I misplaced a book and it didn't get included in here, but 11 is also a good number, so I'm very excited to get cracking on this list and hopefully get it all read by the end of the year, and maybe I'll make a few review videos for the new books on the list. Alright, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please consider leaving a comment or subscribing to my channel. It would mean so much to me. Thank you again, and y'all have a great weekend. Bye.